town hall. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to log in and get ready for our webinar today. So we'll be starting here in just a few moments. If you're just joining us, thanks for joining. We know these are challenging times, and HAP is here to help. We are here today to answer questions on health and wellness during these very challenging times. We're in the process of letting everyone get logged into our presentation today, so we'll be starting here in just a few moments. Thanks for joining. We're going to give everyone about one more minute to log in. This is HAP's second town hall, and we're really glad that you could join us. We're here today to answer all your questions, and so we'll get started here in just about 1 minute. Good morning. This is HAP's second Medicare and actually for all of our members, town hall on health and mental wellness. We are going to start here in just a moment. Looks like we're getting some messages that there could be some challenges for people chiming in. Oops. There we go. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining HAP's second town hall on health and mental wellness. My name is Steve Selinsky. I'm the Vice President of Product Strategy, Marketing, and Community Outreach for Health Alliance Plan. And I'm joined today by Dr. Peter Watson, and Dr. Watson is our Vice President of Care Management, Quality, and Outcomes. Dr. Watson is also our Medical Director of our Medicare and HAP empowered Medicare and Medicaid products. So we're really glad you could join us. We know these are very challenging times, and we know from the feedback we received from our last town hall that a number of you had questions about how to stay healthy, both physically and mentally during these very challenging times. And so we're here today to answer your questions. We have some questions that we know have been coming into our customer service area, or we've had people reaching out and asking us. And we're going to be prepared to answer those. But in addition, if you have a question, we want to make sure that you can get those questions answered. And so if you want to provide questions to us, just fill out the comment section below, and we'll do our best to get to all of them. If for some reason we don't get to your question, we will make sure that we do reach out to you post webinar to make sure we address any of your questions that we weren't able to get to. But with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Watson. Dr. Watson, thanks for joining us again. We're really glad we were able to make this happen, and I know our members Always enjoy hearing from you, and we have a lot to cover today.
Thanks so much, Steve, and it's good to be back with you here today. Again, for all of our HAP members and all of our various products, all of our staff are working very hard to make sure that we're supporting our members and their needs. As you mentioned earlier, we got a number of questions after our first town hall on health and wellness, as well as some increasing questions about sort of mental resilience and how we stay sort of happy and healthy as best as we can during this time. We're definitely eager to answer your questions either during this webinar, or if we have many, we may have to answer some following. Please, just to protect your privacy, we want to make sure that your questions don't include any personal information. We want to maintain your privacy, and we want to do our best to answer your questions as carefully as we can. Also want to note that we have lots of great content on our website on many of the materials we're going to be covering today, and I'll be referring to those in some of my answers as well throughout the morning. So Steve, I guess we can go ahead and get started.
All right, great. We'll get started. So one of the biggest questions that are coming in, this is a challenging time for folks. They're working on a whole completely different schedule, confined to the home, and they want to know, how can people stay active during this time?
Right, great question. So obviously, as we talked about in our first town hall, physical activity is very important to maintain your physical health and make sure that you are feeling well, but it also is a very important part of mental wellness. And the more that you can maintain your physical activity, the better it will be for you to physically adjust. And thankfully, this morning, we have some much better weather outside than we did for our town hall 2 weeks ago. So the sun is shining. One of the things I recommend is that you try to switch up and do more walking routines throughout the day, maybe after meals in the evening. Try to include your family in those walking routines. Get outside, get some sunshine and sunlight, fresh air. Try to move your body around, do some workouts, even just basic exercise routines to improve your strength and flexibility. And at the same time, too, think about some things online for stretching and mobility. Even folks have done some light yoga routines or other things to improve your flexibility. So try to vary up your routine and do things that will make you feel well, but at the same time also improve your ability to cope through this time.
I can tell you, I love going outside for the walks, and especially now that the weather's getting better. And what really is encouraging is seeing all the other people out there doing the same thing. So,
Right.
The fresh air and getting out and moving is definitely something that I think a lot of people are finding helpful during this time. All right, so we'll look for our next question here. This question is for folks who just might be in that slump. I'm struggling to motivate myself to exercise. Any suggestions? How do you get that person off the couch? How do we force ourselves to actually get motivated enough to
Well,
go do
again,
that?
motivation is sometimes always a challenge to get moving. And in this time too, when you're inside and you may be having difficulty to cope, motivation is important. So trying to build it into your schedule as best as you can, building it into your home routine is one way to uh, sort of force yourself to do some more movement. There are some great free apps that you can download on your phone. I've actually used one myself to actually track your activity, your steps, and things that you may do. And those apps actually sometimes can remind you to do those things if you haven't exercised yet during the day. Some of those things actually are linked to social media, so you can be in groups where people motivate one another, and you can even do workouts on those social media routines as well, which can be nice because everyone is trying to motivate themselves to move. The other thing, again, I mentioned this earlier in the previous question, try to involve your family in that physical activity. Try to make it something that has meaning to you as a family. It isn't about you, it's also about your other family members that you may be in the household with.
Great point. All right. If you're joining us just now, want to make sure if you have a question for Dr. Watson that we do get it answered. So please submit your questions in the comment section right below the screen here, and we'll make sure that we get to them. And if for some reason we don't cover them on today's broadcast, we'll make sure we reach out to you with an answer. So, Dr. Watson, do you have any suggestions on how we can eat healthy while at home?
Yeah, again, excellent question. And again, during this time can be challenging. We're at home a lot for work. And first of all, we're around food more often throughout the day. And also, we may have some limited options during this time because we're trying to buy things that may last longer, things that are more processed. So, one thing is to make sure that you're mindful about the balance of what you're eating during the day. Make sure you're varying up with fruits and vegetables throughout the day. Try to replace salty and sweet snacks with something like cut up fruit or vegetables. I think it's very important to make sure that you're spacing things out. The other thing is that a lot of snacks are carbohydrates or high sugar or salt foods. Those things actually don't sustain you very well, and trying to use maybe more high protein snacks, like a little handful of nuts or something like that, that may lead you away from things like chips or candy or things like that. The last thing I would say is making sure that you drink plenty of water. I think when folks are at home, they don't actually keep track of their fluid intake very well. Water is very essential for all of our bodily nutritional needs. It's also essential for all of our metabolism to work. So if you're not taking in enough water, you'll actually gain weight and you're not going to feel very well. So making sure that you're scheduling water and watching your caffeine intake during the day, very important.
Okay. Good suggestions. So we have a question from someone who has joined from Kayla. And Kayla, thanks for joining us. She says, is HAP offering anything to help members stay active?
Yes, HAP is deeply committed, Kayla, to physical activity, and we have a number of benefits in all of our programs to help our members stay active. We have a number of materials on our website about staying active, things around exercise, and some of the other counseling that we've just had in these questions. In addition, for some of our programs, we have things like Silver and Fit for our Medicare members to help bring information into their homes to exercise. And we do have resources through our customer service to help link you with community resources to keep you active during this time.
Great. Yeah, and I would encourage anyone who's a HAP member, please go out onto our hap.org website. There are a ton of resources, as Dr. Watson mentioned, for you out there. Easy things you can do while at home that'll definitely make a difference in your daily routine. All right, so I think we have another question here. Um, what can you do for yourself if you are working from home? And I know a number of us are, and it's definitely quite different than going to the office or going to a place of work.
Yeah, it is. And remote work, in some ways, has been very challenging because uh, number one, you might not be able to find yourself easily turning off from work to home. I know a number of us, maybe we have found a corner of the house, a desk. If we're able, we might have a separate room that we can be in to try to separate ourselves a bit. But at the same time, too, for those of us who are parents like me, where we have kids at home that are also doing school, you're also supporting that home function. So having a family schedule so that everyone is aware of who needs to do what. That means the kids doing their schoolwork. If you have yourself and your spouse perhaps that are doing work from home, making sure that people are aware of that. Making breaks in the day so that you can take mental breaks. Again, this is a great time of year if you can just step outside even for a few minutes to take a mental break from work. Sometimes when we're working from home, we lose track of time, and that can actually take its toll a bit on our ability to get through the day. And we may be tempted to work even longer than we normally would if we were commuting to and from work. So it's creating that schedule of start and stop times, making sure you have scheduled breaks, connecting with your family, making sure that everyone's supporting one another during this time.
Yeah, that healthy balance between work and home is really important. And I know that for myself and a number of people that I spoke to, being able to know when to disconnect or shut off is really important because you can just keep going and going and going, and you don't want to burn out
Right.
from that.
Right.
If you're just joining us, thanks for joining us. This is HAP's second town hall, and we're really focusing today on health and well-being during COVID. And we have Dr. Peter Watson with us. If you do have questions for Dr. Watson, please fill out the comment section below and submit those, and we'll do our best to get to all of our questions today. All right, Dr. Watson, here's a question. I'm finding it difficult to cope. How can I improve my mental health? And I know a lot of people are struggling with this during these difficult times.
Yeah, well, first, Steve, I think we all have to give ourselves a little bit of permission to feel a little differently during this time. This is not something that really any of us have really experienced before. And so it is natural to have some feelings of being a little overwhelmed, a little depressed or upset or out of sorts in being at home, having our routine shaken up. So I think that's the first thing, is to have an understanding of yourself, that this is a different time and you're going to feel differently. The second thing is to make sure that you have self-awareness and awareness of people around you about how you're doing, and if these feelings are getting to the point where they're more than just an adjustment to the current situation. So it's really being aware of how you're interacting on a daily basis with things that you normally take pleasure in, your sleep patterns, your eating patterns, and make sure that those things are not getting overly disrupted. If that is becoming a major issue, then that's when you might need to seek the help of a physician or a mental health professional. But in the meantime, it's building routines and things to support yourself, trying to focus on things of accomplishment, connecting with family, doing things that will help support you and your loved ones through this time, in addition to some of the eating and physical habits and things that we've already talked about.
Sure. I think it's important also just to point out, in addition to your primary care physician, if you need to reach out to a specialist, someone, with behavioral health, almost all providers, it's safe to say, out there are participating in some form of telehealth or virtual health. So it's important not to just assume that that doctor's not accessible to you.
Right.
All right. So we have a question from Tom. Tom, thanks for joining us. Tom says, is it normal to feel lethargic and less energetic in these current times?
Yeah, Tom, this is, again, an excellent question. And I think it is a common feeling at this point in time for people to feel a little bit more lethargic, a little less energetic. I mean, when we think about what we're going through now, there's some uncertainty about what's happening with COVID. And thankfully, in Michigan, we are seeing a tapering off of some of our hospitalizations and some of our very serious impacts of COVID. But the case rate's going to continue to climb a bit. And we have to sort of weather through this uncertainty a bit. And that puts a lot of pressure on us and takes away some of our energy. Again, I think it's having an awareness of how you feel and how serious these feelings are and how it's affecting your daily routines and how it's affecting the way that you interact with other folks. And again, trying to incorporate more physical activity, trying to get more into the outdoors, trying to create some schedule and control in your normal daily routine will hopefully help you overcome some of these feelings of energy and lethargy that I think all of us are experiencing to some extent.
Dr. Watson, how do you recommend dealing with canceled plans as a result of COVID-19?
Yeah, well, again, COVID has disrupted many things in our work and professional lives, and there's a lot of milestones that typically happen this time of year. I know you have a family member that's finishing up with college. I know my children have classmates that are finishing high school, and so there are a lot of things that have been disrupted, and it's trying to build some new traditions around that. I know Wayne State just held their first virtual commencement.
Sure.
Some professional schools actually graduated early. And so that is a great disruption, but it's trying to understand the importance of what's happening and adjusting to those things. And I think all our organizations are trying to find ways to recognize those milestones when it's safe to do so. So my hope is that our communities will recognize our graduating students, our professional students, folks who have had major milestones. I know folks have had weddings and other things that they're scheduling, and it's figuring out how to adjust those things in this time.
Sure. And I've noticed a ton, at least in our neighborhood, of drive-by birthdays.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
yeah.
caravans of cars and honking horns, playing music and stuff. So people are getting creative. I think that's really important to not let the milestone slip by. Just as you said, be more think of an alternative way to embrace it and
And
celebrate
who
it.
knows, on that
All right.
point, maybe future birthdays will have drive-through honks
Yeah.
everywhere. Who knows?
Yeah.
So,
Who knows? Yeah, I think some of these things will stick.
yeah.
But yeah, it's really exciting to see some of this stuff. So we have a question from Deb. Deb, thanks for joining us. Deb says, "Can I still sign up for the Silver and Fit program if I'm a Medicare member?"
Yeah, absolutely, Deb. We want people to exercise or use their benefits, specifically for Silver and Fit. Silver and Fit does give you a number of things to help you stay physically healthy with more physical activity, which includes discounted or no fee gym memberships. We know that those things have not completely opened yet, but we want people to register and be ready for that. Silver and Fit also has programs that can be mailed to your home in modules and things that you can exercise at home. So we definitely don't want people to stop doing the things that are important to maintain and improve their physical health.
Right. And if you're just joining us, thank you for tuning in to our HAP town hall. This is our second town hall. We're focusing on health and mental wellness during these difficult times. And we have Dr. Peter Watson with us. If you have questions, just fill them out in the comment section below, and we'll do our best to get to your question as soon as possible. So, Dr. Watson, what can I do to cope with loneliness while social distancing? I know this is impacting quite a few people, and wondering, can you give us some pointers here?
Yeah, loneliness is, again, very common during this time. And I do worry about people who are more naturally socially isolated, our older members of our community who may not get out otherwise, but certainly has gotten even more difficult. So trying to reach out to your neighbors, your loved ones, to grandparents who you can't interact with physically or close, but try to talk to them by phone, use FaceTime, other media to try to interact with them and help them feel supported. Um, there are lots of people who could use a phone call or other ways, even writing letters and emails and things like that can help you with your own loneliness and help your loved ones and people in your community with coping with their loneliness. So finding as many safe ways to connect as possible, I think is really important in this time.
Sure. And I guess I would just point out too to any of our members, if you are experiencing loneliness or you need to connect with folks, please reach out to us at HAP. I know we've even been proactive in some instances, reaching out to some of the members that we feel might be at a higher risk to make sure that if need be, we connect you to the appropriate people and resources during this different time. And it's difficult. And so if you are experiencing loneliness, please reach out to us and we'll make sure that we connect you with some resources that could help you get through this. All right, Dr. Watson, the situation is increasing strain on my relationship and home life. How should I handle this?
Right.
And
Well,
I think this is something every household is experiencing. We're all together 24/7 more than we've ever been.
right. Well, for those of us that are in the household with one another, again, a lot of those routines have been disrupted. And as harried as our life might have been before COVID and maybe taking kids to practice, getting people to school, commuting to and from work, those things actually created natural breaks in the day and also sort of separated us a little bit to give us a little bit of a break. And now families are spending lots and lots of time together And that can create a lot of stress. It can amplify issues. It can people can get a little bit upset with one another. They're of course coping with the underlying uncertainty of things. So again, it's building in routines. It's being honest and dialoguing with one another about how you're feeling. Um, it's about being open and honest about what is going on and how you're going to deal with it. It's also a time to recenter, particularly for our families, about how you're going to face these challenges. And it's not easy. And there are some days will be easier than others, incorporating physical activity and other things as a family together, and even scheduling a little bit of time apart to do some activities apart from one another, like you would during a normal day. So try some of those different strategies to try to maintain a little bit of harmony and well-being in the household.
Sure. Okay. We still have time for some questions, so if you have any, fill them out. Actually, this is going to be our last question, but if you did have a question that we didn't answer, please still submit it, and we'll make sure we get back to you after our presentation today. All right, so Dr. Watson, as we look to wrap things up here, what should you or a loved one do if they feel overwhelmed with feelings like sadness, depression, or fear?
Right. So we've talked a lot about some of the basic ways to maintain mental wellness and other things. And I think for the most part, a lot of those strategies can be effective. But there will be times where people's feelings, either in themselves or in what they witness with one another, may become a little bit more significant. And so, a few things you need to do is that if you are having those feelings yourself or you're recognizing it in a loved one that you're with, you definitely need to engage the help of a health professional, your primary care physician, or a mental health professional. I know there are concerns from our members that physicians, they may not want to bother their physicians or mental health professionals. Actually, our physicians are letting us know at HAP that they are open, that they want to help their patients and try to connect with them through telehealth, through telephone, through other things. So you should be reaching out to your health professional if you have those issues. Certainly, if you see something serious, something immediate, something that's emergent from a mental health standpoint, you can always engage the emergency room, call 911, call help lines. Our communities have a number of helplines and distress lines available to call. We have information on our own website to do that as well, but don't wait for those things and wait to get the right professional involved if those feelings are becoming serious.
That's great advice. And Dr. Watson, I would just say, we're almost there. We've made it through, I'd say, the bulk of the storm. Everyone, if we can just continue doing what we're doing, try and remain as patient as possible, we're going to get through this. I think we're going to come out stronger than we ever have. But the key is, if you need assistance or you need help, HAP is here. We care. We have resources we can connect you with. So please reach out to us, and we can make sure that we connect you to the right people and resources to help you get through the rest of this. But the good thing is I think can speak for a lot of folks is that we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. So we just got to hang on there a little bit more. Dr. Watson, thank you so much for joining us today. Always enjoy having you provide us and our members with some great tips and information. Appreciate all you're doing during this very difficult time. And thank all of you who have reached out today and joined us for this town hall. We really appreciate it. We will be posting this on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and other social media. And so what we would encourage you to do is share this with your social media networks so that others can also benefit from some of the information that we provided. Once again, if you did provide a question and we were unable to answer it, we will get back to you as soon as possible. And I just want to say once again, thanks to everybody. We really appreciate it. Stay strong, stick with it. We'll get through this. And just remember, HAP is here for you if you need us. So thanks everyone once again, and we really thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much.